Exclusive interview with President Zelensky, and it comes at a critical juncture in this war. Tonight, Ukraine's counteroffensive, its effort to push back the Russians, is now underway. President Zelensky making it clear to us this is not just in the south and Kherson, this is elsewhere too. And that news tonight, right here in Ukraine, troubled yet again at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The backup power line, which is now the main power source at that plant, has been shut off because of shelling nearby. They're now relying on power from one of the reactors to power the entire plant, to power those critical cooling systems inside the plant. In our exclusive interview inside the presidential office building here in Kyiv, I can tell you there were multiple checkpoints, heavily secured, guards outside, and then the armed guards inside, in every hallway, at every doorway. And President Zelensky told me he knows he is still a target. President Zelensky telling us Russia has essentially turned that nuclear plant into a nuclear weapon. He says he asked President Biden to designate Russia a state sponsor of terrorism. And he said of Russia, we cannot have dialogue with terrorists. We asked about the atrocities the world saw just about 40 minutes outside this city in Bucha. We asked, is Vladimir Putin a war criminal? Should he be prosecuted? And we ask, how will this war end? Our interview tonight with President Zelensky. Mr. President, thank you. I know as we sit here, there is a major Ukrainian counteroffensive underway. You have told the Ukrainian people that you will take back the territory seized by the Russians. Have you gained any ground yet?
It's a very difficult war, and it's a very difficult task. We will renew our territory. We cannot freeze this conflict now. We need to, step by step, deoccupy our territory. This task is difficult, and it doesn't only depend on us, but I'm sure that is what will happen. It's only a matter of time.
Why Kherson? Why this counteroffensive now?
I won't say that it's only a counteroffensive in Kherson. There is a direction, or directions, plural, and we have to move forward.
Let me just be clear on that point. The counteroffensive that we're witnessing in Kherson right now is not the only counteroffensive underway in this country.
I can't discuss details of any military actions. I think that information silence is important, so I want that the enemy gets some surprises from us.
Mr. President, you and I spoke 6 months ago, and at the time of Vladimir Putin's demands, you said this: we are not prepared for ultimatums. Putin said, give up joining NATO, recognize Crimea as part of Russia, and recognize the independence of those two separatist regions in the east. Those were his words. To Vladimir Putin, who will get this message, are you willing to compromise on any of those points?
It's a question of dialogue with terrorists. You cannot discuss anything with terrorists. But after rapes, after tortures, after murders, after we discovered a lot of dead bodies with cut limbs, it's not a war. It's pure and clear terrorism. We cannot have any dialogue with the terrorists.
You believe the only end of this war is if the Russians pull out in every place that they are right now?
Of course, we do not want to lose more people, but we cannot stop now and say, okay, let us agree, let us talk. They are not prepared for peace. They want to return the Soviet Union. They do not want to give us sovereignty and independence, and they will not do it voluntarily. So the only chance for us is to deoccupy our territories, to push them back.
So how does this war end?
It will definitely end.
So what you are telling me, more than 6 months into this war, is that you will cede no Ukrainian territory. That is not on the table.
No, we will not.
President Zelensky saying this is not conventional war. This is terror. He says it is economic terror. Russia cutting them off from their own ports in the south. Nuclear terror. The Russians taking control of the largest nuclear plant in Europe, in Zaporizhzhia. And tonight, concern yet again over the power going into that plant.
You see, they occupied our nuclear station. 6 blocks. The biggest in the Europe. It means 6 Chernobyls. It means the biggest danger in the Europe. So they occupied it. So that means that they use nuclear weapon. That is nuclear weapon.
You have been warning of nuclear catastrophe for quite some time. As we've been here, nuclear inspectors have finally made it to Zaporizhia through the war zone, the front lines. The lead inspector came out afterward and said, "I'm worried." We know that the main power line going into the plant was shut down for a time in the last 24 hours, backup power. And he warned the potential loss of power to cool those reactors could lead to a meltdown. How close are we to that?
You and us are already close to danger because there are military people, military personnel at the territory of nuclear power station. There shouldn't be any military personnel. There shouldn't be any military equipment on the territory. And there shouldn't be the workers of nuclear power plant who are surrounded by people with firearms.
I'm sure you're aware of what the White House and the Pentagon has said. They have said the safest outcome would be a controlled shutdown of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. Would you support that?
What do you mean, shut down the station? The station feeds electricity to 2 regions of Ukraine. I know that the Russians would like the reactors to be disconnected from Ukrainian grid and connected to the Russian grid. No, we do not agree to those messages.
Let me ask about support for this war and the energy crisis playing out in Europe right now. Skyrocketing prices. Russia has just said it will not restart the flow of natural gas into Germany. How concerned are you that this winter ahead will test support in Europe, that there could be a split in the support of Ukraine?
We actually warned the world a year ago. You have to cut your dependency on Russian energy, on Russian oil and gas, because they basically put the whole Europe on an energy gas needle. So yes, if Russia manages to split Europe, it will win in this war.
Mr. President, let me ask you about this headline back home in the U.S. President Biden has asked Congress for another $13.7 billion in emergency funding for Ukraine. As you know, that's on top of nearly $13 billion in military aid already, $8 billion to help with schools, hospitals, the government. How long do you believe the U.S. is going to fund Ukraine, help fund this war at this level?
We are grateful, and I understand that it might be too little, my personal only gratitude, but I can't give any more. What we pay, we are dying. When I had my last talks with President Biden, I told him, I am very grateful to you. And President Biden said, no, it's not to me, it's to all the Americans who support you. Again, I am grateful.
Let me ask you about Bucha. Yeah. We are just back from visiting Bucha. You visited yourself. The world has seen the atrocities. You didn't hide your anger, your disgust when you were there. And you said to the UN Security Council, both those who carried out the killings and those who gave the orders must be brought to justice immediately for war crimes. What does justice look like?
As any civilized person, any civilized man, I think that those responsible should not just go to hell. No, they should have fair trials, fair, independent trials. Never ever we will forget or forgive. We have the lists of those people, of those individuals. Our intelligence is looking for every single one of them. Now we ask the United States to recognize Russia as the country's sponsor of terrorism.
You heard what President Biden said of Putin when asked. He said he is a war criminal. Those words from the president. But have you been given any indication that the president would be willing, that the U.S. would be willing to name Russia a state sponsor of terror?
We discussed that with President Biden. We want this to happen. I understand that it's not easy. It's not easy for the state secretary and for the president and for the Congress.
Do you believe Vladimir Putin is a war criminal?
Yes.
Should he be prosecuted?
Yes.
Your messages to the Ukrainian people every night. We remember the message outside when you said, we're still here, we're in Kyiv, we are defending Ukraine. As we sit here, your life is still clearly in danger. The foreign minister of Russia said in recent weeks, he called this an unacceptable regime. What is your intelligence telling you? Does Russia want you dead?
Yes. The information is as it used to be. There are different groupings that are tasked with this task, but the aim is the same.
What would you say to Vladimir Putin right now about ending this war?
I don't have any words for him today. He doesn't care. He doesn't give a damn about how many Russians will lose their lives. We are so different. We will not find anything, any compromises.
What would you say to Americans, our viewers back home, to people all over the world? We've seen it in the U.S., the Ukrainian flag in people's front lawns. Americans have watched this war. They have followed it very closely.
I really appreciate for everybody from the United States, ordinary people who helped us, who supported us, and now support. It's not about the past. We're speaking about future. This war is not finished yet, but will be. And it's very difficult to be alone. And we feel that we are not alone. And we feel that America is with us together in this war, even if Ukrainians are dying. Not Americans, but we feel that you are on the field with us. We feel it on this war field, battlefield.
President Zelensky's message to the American people. And while we were there, the president walking us through the building, in a rare moment, the president talking about his family, about his wife, his 2 children, still in hiding here in Kyiv. He sees them once or twice a month. You told me 6 months ago that you would not leave your country. I know you don't like to talk about your wife, your children, but I suspect they understand the choice you've made here.
Yes, they understand. It's very difficult for them, totally, but they are with me. Yes, during some of these months, I couldn't speak where they are, but I can tell you that they are in Ukraine, in Kyiv, and they have to change places because of the safety, all the security measures.
This has become life for them.
Yes, in the new life, but how to say it? Yes, my children, they became older.
And President Zelensky telling me his youngest child, his son, who is now 9, has grown up quickly in this war, like the rest of the children of Ukraine.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.